So we've spoken a little bit about the purpose of fear, which is to protect us from harm, threat. We've also spoken quite a bit about, in today's world, it's more what we perceive to be threatening that creates fear rather than the actual external situation. So it's how we are viewing it. We also have spoken about how our thinking is highly influenced by what it is we want. Our desires kind of guide our logic rather than logic guiding desire. I remember, I don't know if this was a person or a movie, and a friend is asking or telling a friend, why didn't you think before falling in love? And the person answered, if I was thinking, I wouldn't have fallen in love. I don't know if that's true, but usually when we are, I guess, when we find ourselves in difficult situations with the person we have become attracted to, then yeah, we weren't thinking. So, so logic, getting guided by emotion. And the whole idea of that explanation was that we have this feeling part of our thinking, the mind, and we need to promote ourselves, upgrade ourselves, lift ourselves into intellect thinking, where logic is being guided by knowledge and wisdom rather than emotions. And for as long as we stay in mind-based thinking, fear has a very strong hold on us. But when we upgrade our thinking to the intellect, then even though we physiologically feel fear, we are brave enough to face the situation. Okay. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the cause of fear. And even though it's because we perceive a threat, we can categorize it quite simply into 3 categories, which is fear is of loss. When we feel we're going to lose something, that causes fear. Then of pain. Pain, we definitely don't want pain in our life, and so that causes fear. Pain, suffering, loss, and uncertainty. Uncertainty or the unknown causes fear. And so if we think about anything that we are afraid of, and the list of the things that we can be afraid of is so long, right? From insects to public speaking to insult to rejection to heights to, like, it can be quite physical things that we're afraid of. It can be quite emotional things we can be afraid of. Sometimes we're not afraid for ourselves, we're afraid for another person, but it will come down to there's some loss. And so I don't want to lose it. And then that's what causes the fear. And pain, of course, I don't want to feel pain. Physical pain, emotional pain, even more, I don't want it. And so there's fear of having to experience pain. And that amygdala brain theory that we see in psychology, they call it challenge or struggle. So pain means struggle. And then unknown. And then unknown becomes such a large part of our life, because really, what do we know? so little. We don't know. Uh, we don't know what's going to happen next minute. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Even though we think we know or we plan, we don't know. And so it's a constant in our life. Uncertainty is actually a constant in our life. In terms of everything, right? In terms of in Hong Kong politics, what's going to happen in next year? We don't know. In terms of global pandemic, what's going to happen? We don't know. In terms of taking vaccine, don't take vaccine, we don't know. And then personally, in terms of our relationships, will I, be as comfortable in the relationship? I don't know. Will I be able to solve the current challenge I'm going through in the relationship or at work? We don't know. In terms of me, like my skill set, my confidence, we change. We're constantly changing. Like if we look at ourselves 10 years ago, we're very different people. Somebody was visiting the ashram earlier today and they remembered 20 years ago when I first came to Hong Kong, and they pulled out a picture. And I'm looking at this picture of me and I'm thinking, I don't know this person. It was so long ago, that person's not here anymore. We change. So, yeah, and, they'll be good, maybe not so good. We always hope it's for the good that we're getting better and better. Sometimes not, because when we look around, we think you were so sweet. When did you become this cranky old man or this old lady? And then, so how to know what we're going to be? Uncertainty. And the more we think about it, the more we'll realize there is no certainty. There is only uncertainty. And so a lot of the scriptures start this way, Bhajagovindam style. You are going to die, and that's the only certainty. That's how Bhajagovindam starts. Nothing else is certain in life. This is the only thing that's confirmed. And then you think, why did I come for class today? Let's not talk about this. Katha Upanishad has a similar kind of topic, right? Nakchiket goes up to Lord of Death at the age of 8. Some say 12, some say 8. Not quite sure which one. But still, even if it's 12, that's really young to turn up to the house of Lord of Death. Knocks on the door. Like, that's amazing. And he wasn't scared. How is this 12-year-old so fearless in facing death? Which brings me to the point that uncertainty or the unknown very often translates to fear of death, because that's probably one of the biggest. Well, we know this is certain. What's certain? We will die. Other people will die. What is uncertain? What happens after? Even if somebody tells me, right? So I've read near-death experiences and they see a light. They always see a light. And then, it's become this corny movie line when somebody dies, walk to the light. So will there be a light? How will I see it? Because the eyes are here. What kind of light is this? Then some people say our loved ones come to receive us, just like at the airport. Yeah. And then I've even heard people say, well, who's coming? Maybe I don't want them to come and get me. Like, I hope it's not that auntie. How will we know who's coming? And do they come? And will we recognize them? So much uncertainty. Because nobody's actually come back. The near-death experience people, well, they didn't go. They just kind of loitered in the corridor and then came back. And in that too, do we believe them? Like, usually they on hospital beds and they on anesthesia and they could have been having did they really experience that? Or was it some fantasy? Because when a Christian has a near-death experience, they see Christ. And when a Hindu has a near-death experience, they see Krishna. And it's like, do they draw lots up there to see who's going to come? Uncertainty. Unknown. This is why kids are afraid of the dark also. It's unknown. Don't know what's there. There's a really cute kid story about being afraid of the dark. The mom, dad, aunt, somebody told the kid, whatever it is, so they said, why are you scared? To switch off the light, because there's all these monsters that are looking at me. And so the whoever wise adult told the kid, go up and touch them. The kid's like, want me to go and touch the monsters in the middle of the night that have come into my room? And the aunt said, okay, so let's do it together. And they put a blindfold, so there's just very little light coming through. And where are the monsters usually? And she pointed in the direction. And then they walk up to that section of the room, and she's holding, and she's touching with her hands, feeling out. And then she touches this very soft, fluffy texture and pulls her blindfold down to see all her teddy bears, and realizes that at night, because she can't see them clearly, the teddy bears are all looking like monsters. And so with this delight, the teddy bears are the monsters, because of course they're not. But when she didn't know it was the teddy bear, she saw monster. The minute she understood it's just the teddy bear, she then slept peacefully through the night. So we do this all the time with people. We see people and we don't know them, or we don't understand them, or we misunderstand them, and we see monster, horrible person. And then we dread dealing with them, avoid them, and dislike them, or apprehensive of them, intimidated by them. It's just unknown. We don't know the full story of who they are. And so often that's the case, right? So often when you learn about the bully, he was bullied himself, and he's just as scared as everyone else. So when it's unknown, we scared. When it's uncertain, we scared. And if we remain scared of the unknown and the uncertain, then there's no end to fear. Because there's always going to be things that are unknown to us. Just always, no matter how intelligent we are. And there's always going to be uncertainty. This much we can be certain of. So we need to come up with a strategy to deal with this fear of unknown and uncertainty. And before we do that, we can do pain. So we fear pain. And most of us are able to come up with a strategy to deal with that because, you go to the doctor's office and you have to get a jab and pain. And we learn to deal. You go to the gym, pain, and we learn to deal. Or family gathering, pain, and we learn to deal. Sometimes, sometimes family gatherings can be quite painful. Sometimes not. So pain, we kind of come up with a way. All of us find a way to have to endure. Loss, little bit harder. When there's loss, there's fear of loss. And then you lose or you don't lose. And if you lose, then you grieve. But until you haven't lost, then there's fear of loss. And I don't know if people actually have a strategy for coping for this. Most of us just distract ourselves. And we do the same with fear of death and unknown. We just distract. Distract with so busy at work, so busy. Don't even have time to go to the bathroom. Remember to drink my 6 glasses of water. Too busy. If I'm too busy to even remember to drink water, how I'll remember I'm going to die? I won't, right? So we distract. And then the other way in which we distract is emotional saga. So many dynamics in relationships. And then, we're trying to fix it. Sometimes it's me and somebody, or sometimes it's my mom doesn't get along with my sister, and so I have to fix it. And so I spend 1 hour talking to sister, then I spend 1 hour talking to mom, then I spend 1 hour talking to sister about what mom said, and then I spend by the end of it, I'm so exhausted, no time to think about uncertainty, unknown, death. No, now just go to sleep. We find ways to distract. Lots of different ways in which to distract. And then, of course, there's unhealthy ways where we just like literally numb ourselves by brain dead TV shows and alcohol and any other substance. And we don't want to have to deal. So we need a strategy for loss, and we need a strategy for unknown. And the scriptures, Bhajagovindam, Katha Upanishad, when they start with this, we're going to die. The strategy is acceptance. And so, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, it is foolish to weep about the inevitable. Death is inevitable. It's foolish to weep for something that is inevitable. And the first time I read the Gita, or heard the Gita rather, I heard the Gita more often than I've read it, I thought to myself, I don't think that's so foolish. You'll grieve, right, if someone dies? Yeah. But if it's inevitable, why would you grieve? Because they die. I wasn't getting it. Fortunately, very early in my journey, I heard it being said that when we don't understand what Krishna is saying, We have to persevere in trying to see from the perspective from which he's talking. And so I didn't give up on the Gita, as y'all can tell. And it takes a lot to get to the point where it is what it is. So let me explain it as best as I can. It's very subtle. It's very, very subtle. And so that's why we finished talking about emotional thinking last class, previous class. Somewhere we spoke about emotional thinking. So when I'm saying, but if somebody dies, of course it's sad, that's emotional thinking. But we are emotional people? Yes. I have to see that it's emotional thinking for me to go beyond it. If I don't acknowledge it as emotional thinking and I see it as a truth, I can't go beyond it. Let me give you another example and not death, because death's a little bit intense. Let's say I think so-and-so is stubborn and irritating. So-and-so. And somebody else tells me, actually, they're not so stubborn. It's just that when you talk, yeah, you always pressing their buttons. And I'll say, no, they are stubborn and irritating. I am perfectly logical and reasonable. Everybody else on this planet gets along with me. They don't get along with me because they are unreasonable. I see it as a truth. Is it a truth? It's emotional thinking. Until I'm able to see that it's emotional thinking, I will hold it as a truth and not a perspective or a way of seeing. Okay, let's come back to death is inevitable, and therefore there's no point in grieving. What nonsense? It's death. Of course we'll grieve. This reaction is emotional thinking. Are we emotional? 100%. Will I be able to see what Krishna says? Not for as long as I am in emotional thinking. I won't see it. I have to let go of emotional thinking to understand what Krishna says. What Krishna is saying is, it is what it is, and it cannot be what it's not. What? This is an actual verse in the Bhagavad Gita. The real is real, and the unreal is unreal. This is an actual verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Like, does the Bhagavad Gita really need to say the real is real and the unreal is unreal? Yes, it does. Why? Because we don't see the real. We don't see it as it is. We see it as whatever we see through our emotions and desires, and we don't see it for what it is. So, to see it for what it is, gazillion examples I can give you. We could have a ring, watch, necklace, any heirloom, and it's just a piece of jewelry. Sometimes it's metal, any metal. I see family heirloom. Generations of my family have had this. It's been passed down. It represents everything all my ancestors went through for me to be able to have it today. What is it? Metal. Is it family heirloom? Yes. It's both? Yeah. What is it really? Metal. Y'all with me? Or have I lost y'all? You with me? To see it as it is and not want it to be other than what it is. When I see it, I want it to be family heirloom and represent generations of what my family has been through. I don't want it to be metal. Who wants it to be metal? Even if it's gold metal, that's not fun. It's so boring. We don't want it to be what it is. In Vedanta, we call this process superimposition. Such a big word. Classic example of superimposition you have heard at least 437 times. Rope and snake. What's there? Rope. What do we see? Snake. Let's go back to family heirloom. What's there? Metal. What do we see? So much emotions invested. So we now see it as beautiful. We now see it as valuable. We now see it as representative of superimposition. We will all die. Is this scary? No. I bet you every bone in your body is screaming, yes! Why? Superimposition. What? What are we superimposing on death? Loss. What am I going to lose? My life? That's pretty big. Okay, don't overreact. Loss. We're superimposing loss. Sometimes we superimpose pain. A lot of people perceive death to be painful. Is it? Isn't it? Actually, we don't know because, like I said, nobody came back. Spiritually speaking, it can be, or it can be so smooth. What decides that? You. And how attached you are. It's like when, oh, there's no more Shishu Vihar in person. So sad. When you give the Shishus toys, because it's the only class we actually give the kids toys. They give the Shishu Vihar kids these musical instruments to play. while we sing the bhajans. And then when the bhajans are over, we say, okay, we have to put it back. Some of them hold it so tight because they don't want to give it away. Like, no, it's mine. You can't take it from me. And of course, I don't say a thing. I'm sitting here in front just being Swamini saying, you have to give it back. And of course, the mother's really embarrassed that her kid is not giving it back. So the mother rips it out of the kid's hand. Very painful. But there's some kids who are so easy. They'll come running after me, put it in the box, smile happily, go running off. Easy. Can be. Up to us. Okay. Superimposed, loss. Superimposed, pain. And this is not superimposed. There is uncertainty. Okay, so let's go back to Krishna's statement in the Gita. It is foolish to grieve over that which is inevitable. When we wake up in the morning, do we know the day will end? Do we grieve about it? When summer starts, do we know summer will end? Do we grieve about it? You all do? Foolish. Please read Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. So many of you were like grieving over summer ending. Enjoy the next 2 months, guys. When the year starts, do we know it will end? Do we grieve? Yes? Oh, you'll only grieve about summer. Y'all can see how that's emotional thinking, right? Y'all can totally see how that's emotional thinking. That's completely likes and dislikes. Otherwise, you wouldn't grieve about it. Huh. Why do we grieve? Not because it's going to end, but because we don't want it to end. Why do I want it? Why do I want anything? Anything, anything, anything at all I want. Why do I want chocolate cake? Why do I want husband, wife, child, job, Cathay Pacific Emerald card? Why do I want? Cathay Pacific sent me a card today. I'm like, I'm not flying. Why are you sending me a card? Anyway, why do we want it? Huh? Desire. Yeah, it is a desire. Why do we have desire? Because we think it will give us happiness. Will it give us happiness? Okay. Lots of yes answers. I'm very upset with all of you. Here I am teaching Vedanta for the last 20 years to you people because you all have been coming and you all said yes. Okay, let's go back to Vedanta 101. Does everyone get happiness from chocolate cake? Does everyone get happiness from chocolate cake? No, not everyone gets. I'll introduce you to my current assistant working here in the ashram. You can feed him extremely yummy things and ask him, do you like it? No. This is how he will answer. Not even, no, it's okay. No, he will answer, no. Okay, not everyone gets happiness from chocolate cake. Even you, do you always get happiness from chocolate cake? If happiness was in the chocolate cake, then everyone would get happiness from the chocolate cake. And we would get happiness from chocolate cake all the time. And so to be happy, you should just eat chocolate cake all the time. Do y'all remember this? Okay, let me ask y'all again. Do we get happiness from the objects? We have superimposed happiness on whatever it is we want. What is it we don't want in this scenario? Please remember, we are talking about that which is inevitable. There's no point to grieve over. I'm still talking about Krishna's line in the Gita. I have stayed on track. Why don't we want it to end? We have superimposed happiness on living. Actually, we don't know what death is like. I'm told it's way better. It's like, who wants to hang out here? Apparently, we're all very smelly, as per scriptures. Even though we try to shower quite a few times a day, doesn't help. Literally, this realm of existence is described as smelly. Heaven, of course, smells way better because we don't have bodies that sweat and excrete dirt. Sounds better, no? Dirt excreting bodies sound quite yuck. And that's what we don't want to end. So what was that line again? We will not grieve for that which is inevitable. Do we grieve when the day is over? No. Why? It's going to end. And tomorrow is another day. Wise person, this life is over. Was going to end. Tomorrow's another life. It's quite a leap in our thinking to take. And that's what spirituality demands of us. Leaps in our thinking. Please remember, even the slightest bit of emotional thinking, and you won't get it. You won't get it. To get what Krishna is saying, all emotional thinking has to be paused. But with a word like death, emotions run really high. And so there's fear. And so the first strategy for fear is get out of emotional thinking into higher thinking. That first step is also the last step. So we don't know what's going to happen. Did we know what was going to happen today? But we live today beautifully. Did we know what was going to happen yesterday? But we lived yesterday beautifully. There's been days that have gone so bad and you survived. And there's days that have turned out so pleasantly surprised. Those were great and those ended. So tomorrow, you'll be fine. What? How do you know that? Were you fine today? even if you weren't. Did you get through it? Even the hard days in your life, you got through it? Good days in your life, of course you enjoyed. Didn't want to sleep, didn't want it to end, but it did. So I have no idea what tomorrow is going to be. I have no idea what next life's going to be. But we'll get through it. And that's why the greatest strategy for fear is faith. I've mentioned this before. This is not new. Faith in myself and faith in whatever higher power it is that puts everything together, that makes everything work. So if I'm going to get through it, and if it's going to happen anyway, would I grieve? And would I be scared of it? If I'm thinking logically, the answer is no. There's nothing to be scared of. If I'm thinking emotionally, my answer will still be, of course I'm scared. So, is it scary? It all depends. And then sometimes, this is an interesting thing about humans, we enjoy fear. So all these people who go skydiving, bungee jumping, swimming with sharks, or never mind anything so adventurous, all these people who watch horror movies. I just have to hear 3 bars of that music and switch off. But there's people who look for the horror movie, want the horror movie. Did I tell you all the story of when we went to go see The Fly, the movie The Fly? No? So cousin group, we are a big cousin group of like, I think there's 16 of us. We would have been, the oldest amongst us was 13 years old. Parents dropped us off and we were supposed to go see 101 Dalmatians. That's what we were supposed to go and see. Until the oldest amongst us decided, let's go see this movie. And it's called The Fly. I don't know if y'all remember this movie. It's where aliens burst out of human stomachs and then grow. And it was like such a horrible movie. All of us were so terrorized for days on end. Anyway, most of the movie, this is how we watched. You must remember, we were all like 9, 8. No, not 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. This is how we watched the movie. All of us, all 16 of us. Like, so you block your eyes and then you open to see, like, why? 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 Just keep it blocked. Don't see. Actually, you're still scared because the music is what makes it so scary. And that cinema was so full because people actually enjoy watching horror movies. I don't get it. Why am I doing this talk on fear? People enjoy it. Why do people enjoy it? Makes us feel alive. Why go jump out of an airplane? We not birds. No need. That was some other life. They want to feel alive. Mhm. So is it so bad that we're scared of death? No, just makes us feel alive. Helps us stay present, stay focused. And this was nicely said by somebody wise, I can't remember who. Death is the deadline that helps us get things done. If you don't have deadline, most of us don't get it done. So from a completely Advaitic point of view, fear of death is superimposition that I am this body that's going to end, superimposition that this world gives me happiness. Fear of death is ignorance. Deluded fools that we are. We fear the inevitable. Okay, let's own it. We are deluded fools. Should I fear death? No. It's a very powerful reminder that time and life is precious. And I'll get through it. What? Death? So is there uncertainty? Yeah. Can I get rid of it? No. Does it matter? No. Because anyways, I'm dealing with uncertainty moment for moment. We don't even know what we're going to say next. Yeah. Like sometimes, when we're in the Vedanta course, and I was telling you about that time when Guruji was testing all of us, usually we don't prepare the speech verbatim and memorize it and learn it, but like if Guruji is testing you, you write out the Vedantic points very beautifully, you read it over again, you make sure the joke is in the right place, the story is in, you pronounce the Sanskrit verses, you put it all in the right ways, you check the grammar, you check the this, and then you memorize the speech because you're going to be saying it in front of Guruji, and then you get called and you are sitting in front of Guruji, and what comes out of your mouth? Yeah, blah, blah. That was not the plan. We deal with uncertainty moment to moment. We already know how to deal with it. What we have to deal with is seeing it as it is and not for what I want it to be. It cannot be what it isn't. I hope that's clear. It cannot be what it isn't. Life is beginning, end. Cannot be anything but that. Grief and fear only comes when I want it to be other than what it is. But it cannot be other than what it is. So what has to change is Me wanting it to be other than what it is. And me accepting it for what it is. And so the strategy for dealing with this fear of uncertainty and death for the unknown is acceptance. It is. And my fear also is. But my fear can not be. I know today's class was very abstract. I think I did okay. Any questions?
What is it is what
It is what it is.
so yes, death is like say for example, if there's a drunk husband, would she just say that he is what he is because
He is what he is.
that's it. So you have to, so it's inevitable to expect him to be there.
I think so. The question was drunk husband. Do you have to accept him to be what he is and not, and it's inevitable that he won't be? Yeah, I think you can't expect him to change, but you don't have to stay. To receive beatings.
Most of the time we are more scared of somebody else.
Yes, I've heard that often. People say we're more scared of somebody else dying than we are of ours, than us dying. I think we say that when we don't think we're going to die. If anyone actually thinks about their own death, shabash if you're not scared. Then that's incredible spiritual maturity. Of course, you could be totally deluded fool about being spiritually mature and not being scared. Highly likely probability, but who am I to judge? Doesn't seem real to us. That's why Gita says, what is real, what is unreal. Actually, death is very real, but we don't think it's real. So, until it's so close that it slaps us in the face, and then we think, maybe it's real. And then we forget after like literally 2 weeks. 12 days are over, literally people forget. Or distract, right? We distract. This desire, this relationship, this job, this venture, this travel, this. Do we have desire because we superimpose happiness on the object, or do we have, or do we superimpose first and then have the desire? I guess we superimpose first and then we desire. Where did vasanas came from? Basically, you're asking me, why did God create the world? Vasanas are our inbuilt tendencies from previous lives. Right. We superimposed last life. This is not our first life. We superimposed in previous lives. That's why we have vasanas. Lots of superimposing going on. There is lots of superimposing going on. I don't say that just as a joke. We superimpose ourselves to be this body. We superimpose these people who are my family that are my family. We superimpose on objects, their value, status. Lots of superimposing going on. What is there? Brahman. What else? Nothing. Everything else is superimposition. Even death is superimposition. Because what dies? Yes.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hey,
Can Swamiji, I'm a medical doctor by profession, and I have often noticed that if there is any illness or any ailment or whatever, my logical mind starts running much more than the spiritual part of my understanding things. I mean, I start asking questions, why? Well, why has this happened? What is the pathological reason? What is the, the dynamics of this illness or whatever? How do we deal with this logical thinking being the medical thinking, if you can say? And
we need you to think that way so that if there's a possibility to cure it, you can.
Yes, but many a times if there is a lot of fear and if we know, okay, this is not something that is correct, it is just my logical thinking that's working a lot too much, just the way you said emotional thinking. So how do we deal with, we know, okay, this is not the fact, but yet the medical mind thinks otherwise. So how do we counter react in such situations?
You mean the medical mind is being emotional?
Medical mind is more powerful than the spiritual aspect, so it causes a hindrance in acceptance and having the faith.
I see.
Yeah.
And that you should have been able to cure it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we feel responsible for something, then it's harder to accept something that causes pain to people. So if family members are looking at me to cure a loved one, then that's an incredible amount of responsibility that medical practitioners have to bear. And you'll do an amazing job. And you'll definitely help millions and millions and millions of people. And so I would say that even the way in which medical science has helped millions and millions of people is in a way grace. It's divine grace that we've understood how the biology works. It's divine grace that we understand what chemicals we can use to, thin the blood, thick the this, whatever. It's divine grace that we've learned how to perform surgeries in ways in which people definitely have improvement in their sense of well-being. And so even though we are doing as humans in our respective fields, we can only do because of grace. And each soul is walking on the path that they need to walk on. And some of the paths to us look very difficult because they have to endure so much physical pain if they're the patient, or so much emotional pain if they're a family member. But this is the path that they have to walk. For whatever reason, that is beyond maybe my understanding at this given point in time. And I heard this analogy and I absolutely loved it. It's described that we are trying to see the entire universe through a keyhole. And so how much will we see through the keyhole? And so I look at this person and they're suffering and I think, why? I look at someone else and I think, why aren't they? But we can't see the bigger picture because we ourselves are in the picture. We just hold on to faith that each one is walking their path. And as best as I can for this time that I walk with them, I support and I respect and I aid in whatever way possible. And where my intelligence and capabilities fall short, that's their journey to face that. But of course, I do my responsibility as best as I can and remind myself that it's grace when it works and it's grace when it doesn't. Because their journey will take them where they need to be. But it is hard. It is hard when we take responsibility for suffering and pain. And making the world a better place, it doesn't mean it's actually better. It just means we get better.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Okay, we'll conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave, asato ma Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om